So have you noticed that YouTube is filled with videos about transforming your life, outworking 99% of people, how to do 1 month of work in a week, and becoming significantly more disciplined? These videos are everywhere, and there's an obvious problem with them. My videos don't have this problem, by the way. The big problem is most of these videos are keeping you stuck. The videos might get you to start a particular morning routine, take up a particular diet, start a particular workout program, do these particular habits, avoid these other particular habits. And if you did all that, then your life would change. I mean, yeah, maybe in the short term because you can white knuckle your way through just about anything, but they rarely actually drive significant changes in behavior over the long term. Because as you have seen, you generally always fall back into your same old patterns, don't you? And the reason why is because you are the same person, but you're just trying to imitate someone that you've seen on the internet. You have years of being exactly who you are now. And you can try to change your life by copying these people that you see on the internet and replicating exactly what they do. But you are almost always going to fall back to exactly what you have done before. Years of programming is not going to be overcome or overridden by a few weeks of taking cold showers. And that's the harsh reality of it. Taking cold showers is not the answer. Eating beef liver is not the answer. Waking up early is not the answer. Getting enough sunlight in the first hour of the morning is not the answer. Journaling is not the answer. Meditation is not the answer. Talking to a friend is not the answer. No more scrolling on your phone is not the answer. NoFap is not the answer. Do you get it? Even if there was one particular answer, no one could give it to you because no one really has a deep understanding of your situation and your life like you do. So no matter what advice people give you, it cannot be directly mapped to your life. And I know that it doesn't feel like it, but you already know what you need to do. Because you're watching this video for a reason. Life is demanding something from you. It's your responsibility to work out what that thing is. Life is calling you to become someone different. That feeling you have, that desire to be more than what you are, it's a gift. It's time to listen to that call. And it's time to build that project. Here's the thing. Why work harder than everyone else if you have nothing to work hard at? Why wake up earlier than everyone else if you have nothing to wake up early for? Why stop scrolling on your phone if you have nothing that demands your attention? Have you ever considered that maybe the reason I don't do the things I think I should be doing is because I don't have a good enough reason to do them? Too many people think that discipline is the input. That's wrong. Discipline becomes the output when you have something that you really want to be disciplined for. To put it a little bit differently, you need a project, something that brings everything else into place. The project is a filter that your behaviors are passed through. You can't force this though. You have to go through a process in order to build a project. And you'll see why soon. Most people know that their bad habits are mistakes they are making. But the bad habits only are mistakes if they are compromising the project. Otherwise, they're just habits. In other words, there needs to be a consequence. Staying up late is only a mistake if it stops me from writing ideas first thing in the morning. Eating a bunch of junk food is only a mistake if it prevents me from bulking or cutting. Scrolling on my phone is only a mistake if it bleeds into the work blocks of my projects. Without these projects, these bad habits are not mistakes, they are just habits. And when you really dedicate yourself to a project, you begin to do everything differently because you don't want anything to compromise what you are building. The late nights, the junk food, and the doom sessions begin to feel like heavy mistakes. Every time you do them, there's this deep sense that you're betraying yourself. Yes, it's a really shitty feeling, but it's actually a great sign. Because if you're feeling that way when you make these mistakes, it's because your identity is shifting away from someone who does this type of thing to someone who doesn't want to make those mistakes anymore. The point is, the project is the reaction vessel for your transformation to occur. When I'm referring to a project, I'm not referring to your purpose in life or your life's mission. Forget those things for now. A project is much more simple than that. It's just something that you're doing in your life right now. It can be anything, but there is a catch. No one can tell you what to do. No one can give you that project because it has to be yours. So we're going to talk about the experimental model so you can create projects that's going to change your life. Last year, my dad and my sister and myself went on a family holiday to Japan. And in the lead up to that trip, my dad really wanted to lose some weight. For 6 months leading up to the holiday, my dad became ultra consistent with his diet and also his workout program. He made the most amount of progress that he ever made, getting down to the low 90 kilos. And that is the magic of projects. It pulled everything else into place. But his project was time bound, because when the holiday to Japan was over, the weight started coming back on. He wasn't able to sustain that amount of motivation and discipline because the project was completed and he didn't have another project to focus on. To put it another way, he didn't have a good enough reason to stick with the diet and also his consistency in the gym. Last week I saw a clip of Sam Sewell talking about the importance of having a purpose in life. He said that every day that he gets up, he has a goal in mind that he's able to center his day around, bulking or cutting. Now, I'm a little bit dubious that bodybuilding is Sam's purpose in life, but it definitely is a project that he cares deeply about. The project gives him goals to aim for and problems to solve. For Sam, the project isn't time bound. Some goals will be time bound, like getting absolutely shredded for a show, but the project is consistently the same. It's I want to see how jacked and lean can I get, which is a similar project that I have myself. I also want to see how big and lean I can get, but naturally. Because Sam, I think, wants to go pro. I don't. I have no interest in actually competing in bodybuilding at all. And so I won't be getting on the steroids. Here's something that's worthwhile understanding. I go through seasons of intensity. I go through seasons where making gains in the gym is my top priority. And then I have other seasons where other projects that I am building take the priority. And there are also seasons where I'm not building anything at all. And we'll get to that. So hopefully you can see the difference between projects and goals and how the project is very unique to every individual. You don't need to stress yourself out about finding your all-encompassing purpose. That will happen naturally as you take on more projects, follow your gut, and develop your own unique taste. But you need to have a project that structures and orientates your day. Otherwise, you have to contend with this big sense of boredom. And as Tim Ferriss says, the opposite of happiness is boredom. And I think that's true. You need something to work on that you have chosen and that correctly stacks your intrinsic motivators. And the first step to doing that is going inward because you already know what to do. A few minutes ago, I said that life is calling you to become someone different. And when most people hear the call, they instead turn outwards to the world rather than going inwards to really trying to understand what life is demanding from them right now in their situation. The thing is, you already know what you need to do, but that voice inside of you is just continually drowned out by all the external voices. Friends, family, colleagues, managers, teachers, and of course, people that you see online are all telling you specifically what you need to do rather than you just listening to yourself. I want you to know that your gut is the best compass you'll ever have. And the more that you feed it, the more refined its taste will be, and the better compass you'll have. Going inward is a season of being, so take it easy. Don't try to force an outcome. Instead, go on long walks, take naps, journal, meditate. Do anything that you can to widen your perspective so that an answer will just naturally rise to the surface. And when that happens, it's time to experiment outwards. Peak performers, the research shows, tend to start out their projects with a large sampling period because they are hunting for a perfect match fit. That's a quote from The Art of Impossible by Steven Kotler. I was like most kids. I was told that university was the goal. But little did I know that this path of university was a path of specialization. School was not designed for you to sample what you're interested in. The first time you got to choose what you want to learn was 15 or 16 years old. By 18, you had to decide what degree you're going to study at university. And so your options narrow. By 22, you decide what industry you're going to work in. Your options narrow again. If you don't guess correctly on your first attempt, you objectively fall behind those who did. I was pretty lucky to have a strong calling to engineering. And for the most part, it worked out pretty well for me, even though I'm starting to change trajectories right now. The point is, you're not going to find a perfect match fit unless you go through a wide sampling period of experimentation. I honestly think this is a game of probability. You're lucky if you nail it early, but most people don't. Most people do not find their perfect match. They become specialized and accept their tiny cubicle as their domain. They don't have the courage to break out and allow themselves to slowly suffocate. Clearly, that should be avoided at all costs. The biggest regret of the dying is not living a life true to themselves. That is, conforming to the expectations everyone else has of you rather than trusting your gut. The best, most informative, and most transformative experiences I've had in my life so far has always been when I just trusted my gut. Writing birthday cards when I was little, hiking multi-day tracks, choosing chemical engineering, doing the internship in Fiji, moving to a new city twice, lifting weights, starting a blog, and then eventually the YouTube channel was just me trusting my gut. And my gut has never let me down. What was your answer to what is life demanding from you right now? Listen to the call, go do that thing, and experiment as many times as it takes. Trying a bunch of different things is not shiny object syndrome. You are not a moth to a flame. Remember, the best performers zigzag across domains. Imagine you're at a banquet. You want to sample as many different cuisines and dishes as possible before your taste goes all in on one cuisine. And when you're ready to go all in, it's time to experiment down. So you listen to the call, you've experimented outwards, and now it's time to go deep into your new project. Get obsessed. Launch yourself into a season of doing. Learn as much as you can about the thing. Experiment with different styles and perspectives and see what aligns with you the most. Again, this is how you refine your taste. I love training in the gym, and every now and then I find myself experimenting with different workout programs. Push-pull legs, upper lower, but I always come back to full body sessions. Full body for the win. You can see this downward experimentation in my YouTube videos as well. Over the last couple of years, I have tried a variety of different styles and formats, and I still haven't quite landed on something that is unique to me yet. Experimenting down requires time to collect data. You need to give yourself time to get good enough and for your skill level to adequately match the challenge so you're not perpetually frustrated. Then and only then can you actually see what is working and what isn't. And I think 3 months is a pretty good benchmark to aim for. Sometime during this process, you may actually even discover your own perspective. And when you do, it is now time to experiment upwards. So you know the saying, learn the rules first so you can break them later. Well, experimenting upwards is when you get to break the rules. Experimenting outwards is sampling as many different cuisines at the buffet. Experimenting downwards is choosing a cuisine and replicating recipes from your favorite chefs. Experimenting upwards is when you let go of the imitation and you start innovating. You are developing your own tastes. You are creating your own recipes. Through iteration on your systems and recipes, you begin to develop your own unique style that becomes distinguishable and recognizable from everything else that currently exists. And if you decide to share your work publicly, this is when you begin to form your own unique brand. And when people see your work, they automatically think of you. If any of you have bought a couple Jeff Nippard programs, then you would know exactly when you're looking at a program Jeff wrote, even if his name was covered. You know when you're watching a Veritasium video, even if the audio is turned off and Derek is not on screen, because his videos have a particular style that becomes recognizable to the channel. If I gave you 2 random newsletters, one written from Dan Coe and the other one written by someone else on Medium, then I think you'll be able to pick which one Dan wrote if you're familiar with his work. So as a consumer, you begin to recognize particular patterns and styles in their work that you attribute to them. Experimenting upwards is where you hone your craft and then you make something your own. Eventually, you'll get to a point where your skill level exceeds the challenge and you'll feel a little bit underwhelmed and a little bit bored. And at that point, you have 2 choices. One, you start experimenting upwards again with your craft to see if you can take on a new challenge. And 2, you repeat the entire process over again and start working on a new project entirely. So to give you a summary of what we talked about, you go inward using your calibrated internal compass to give you a direction. You go through a sampling period until something clicks. You go deep and imitate what others have done. And finally, you make it your own. Life operates in cycles, seasons of being and seasons of doing. If you're in a rather uncomfortable position right now, you already know what you need to do. But by listening to constant people on the internet and all these other voices around you, you're not going to actually hear the answer that you need to hear, and you're going to remain stuck. Their advice is not tailored to you, but your gut is. Your gut will lead you to the project that pulls everything else together. The project is the reaction vessel for your transformation to occur. Build your project and experiment. And that's all for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to check out the written version of these ideas, link is in the description. But for now, like always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.